Before we get into today's episode, and honestly, this one is deep, so I want to make sure you have a place to land after you listen. I want to tell you about the Soul Shine Collective, my community over on School. If you're doing the kind of work we're talking about in this series, really coming home to yourself, you need people around you who get it, who aren't going to look at you sideways when you say you're healing your ancestral line. The Soul Shine Collective is that place. There are 2 tiers, aligned and abundant, and every single one of them gives you access to a community of women who are walking this path with intention. The abundant tier is where I'd love to have you. 2 live channeled calls with me each month, energy and manifestation guidance, and real support, as well as Summer of Play, which includes 6 live calls, all of it waiting for you. Summer of Play starts June 29th, so get in before we start. Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Aligned and Abundant. I'm your host, Christine Marcario, intuitive teacher, Reiki master teacher, and your guide back to the life that's been waiting for you. If you're new here, welcome. So glad you found your way. And if you've been walking this series with me, thank you. We are 3 episodes into The Return, a 6-part series about coming home to yourself. And every single week, I feel like we go a little deeper. Week 1, we talked about why slowing down is actually the highest frequency move you can make. Week 2, we got into your body, your somatic wisdom, the way your nervous system holds truth, and how your body has been trying to guide you all along. And this week, we're going upstream. We're going into the lineage. Because some of what you've been carrying, it was never yours to begin with. Let's start with some real talk, because I know when people hear ancestral healing or generational patterns, there can be a reaction. Maybe it sounds too woo. Maybe it triggers guilt, like you're blaming your parents or your grandparents. Maybe it just sounds far more complicated than you're willing to dive into. So let me bring it down to earth for just 1 second. Your ancestors, your parents, their parents, and the generations before them, they lived through things, real things, hard things, scarcity, war, loss, shame, rejection, survival level stress. And when a person lives through something like that, especially without the tools to process it, it doesn't just disappear. It gets stored in the body, in the nervous system, in the way they show up in relationships and money and risk and love. And then they teach their children, not always with words, but with behavior, with energy, with the way they react when money gets tight, or when someone tries to get close, or when you dare to dream a little bigger than what was modeled for you. This is what ancestral patterns are. They are the emotional and energetic inheritance you didn't ask for, but received anyway. And here's the part I really want you to hear. It is not your fault that you carry them, but it is your work to heal them. That distinction matters so much because shame will keep you stuck. Responsibility, real, empowered, compassionate responsibility is what sets you free. So how do you even know the difference between your stuff and inherited stuff? Honestly, sometimes you don't at first, and that's okay. But here are some things to look for. One big one is a reaction that feels disappropriate to the situation. Like you get passed over for something at work and instead of disappointment, you feel devastation. This deep, almost primal sense of worthlessness. That's worth getting curious about. Where does that live in the family? Another one is a belief you hold that you can't actually trace to an experience of your own. Something like, money is dangerous, or it's not safe to be visible, or love always comes with pain. If you hold that belief, but you can't point to one specific moment in your life where you decided it, look up the family tree. And the third one, this is a big one. It is a pattern that keeps repeating no matter how much work you do. You've done the therapy, the journaling, the EFT tapping, the coaching, and still this one thing shows up again and again. That's often a sign it has roots deeper than this lifetime. Now, I'm not saying every persistent pattern is ancestral. Some things just need more time and more layers. But if you've been circling the same wound for years and it feels almost ancient, it could well be. And this is exactly the kind of thing we go deep on inside the Soul Shine Collective. Because this work, ancestral work, pattern recognition, healing the lineage, it's the kind of thing that is so much easier to do in community. When you have other women around you who are doing the same inner excavation, it normalizes it. It makes you feel less alone in it. And honestly, their breakthroughs become mirrors for your own. If that sounds like what you need right now, come find us. The link is in the show notes, and you can start with whatever tier feels right for you. Trust your gut on that one. Okay, here's where I want to get a little bit more soul-led with you, because I think this piece changes everything. In so many spiritual traditions and in a lot of modern research on epigenetics, which is genuinely wild, there's this understanding that healing is not linear and it is not limited to the self. What that means in plain language is this. When you do the work to heal a pattern, you don't just heal yourself. You shift something in the field of your entire lineage. You heal backwards 7 generations and forward 7 generations. You heal the ancestors who carried this pattern without the tools to release it, and you heal the children, the grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren who will not inherit what you've chosen to transform. That's not just spiritual language. That's legacy. That's some badass shit. And I want you to sit with that for a second, because I know for a lot of us, the inner work can feel selfish. Like, who am I to get to spend this time and money and energy on myself when there are so many other things I should be doing? But this reframe changes that completely. Your healing is a gift to everyone who came before you and everyone who comes after you. You are not being selfish. You are being ancestrally responsible and brave. I want to give you something practical to walk away with today. Something you can actually do. This is a simple but really powerful practice. I call it the Lineage Letter. Here's how it works. Sit somewhere quiet. Put your phone down. Take a few slow breaths and drop into your body. Just the way we talked about last week. Feel yourself present, here, now. Then bring to mind one pattern you've been working to shift. One belief or behavior or emotional response that you know isn't fully serving you. And now ask, who else in my family carried this? Let your intuition answer. Don't overthink it. You might see a face. You might feel an emotion. You might just know. Once you have someone in mind, and it's okay if it's more than one person, I want you to write them a letter, not to send, just for you. Tell them, I see what you carried. I see why you carried it. I release you from the burden of passing it to me, and I release myself from the burden of keeping it. This pattern ends with me, and through me, it ends for all of us. You can do this as many times as you need to. For different people, different patterns. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be quiet and private and completely between you and your lineage. But I will tell you this. People who do this work, even in this simplest form, often feel something shift. It's not always immediately, but it is usually noticeable. The charge around the pattern softens. The grip loosens. The nervous system starts to learn. I am not my ancestors' wounds. I am their healing. If you want to go deeper with this, if you want a space to process what's coming up as you move through this series, I want to gently point you toward two things. One is the Soul Shine Collective, especially the Abundant tier, where we do live work together and you can bring the real layered stuff into our calls. The other is one-on-one coaching with me, because sometimes what comes up in ancestral work is not the kind of thing you process alone. And it's not the kind of thing that fits neatly into a group container either. It needs personalized, held space. If that's resonating, reach out to me on Instagram or through the link in my link tree. I want to close out the teaching part of this episode with something that feels important to say directly. You have permission to be the one who breaks the cycle. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to be further along. You don't have to have done enough healing yet. You just have to be willing to look, to get curious, to hold your ancestors with compassion, understanding that they were doing the best they could with what they had, while also choosing something different for yourself. That's evolution. And here's the thing about coming home to yourself, which is what this whole series is about. Sometimes home isn't a feeling you inherited. Sometimes home is something you build from the inside out with intention, brick by brick, belief by belief, and pattern by pattern. That's the return. Not back to who you were. Back to who you were before the world told you who to be. And forward into the version of you who is free. Your action step this week is the Lineage Letter practice I just walked you through. But here's the thing. I want you to actually do it. Not just think about it while you're doing the dishes. Sit down with it. Write it by hand if you can. That would be even better. There's something about handwriting that makes it more embodied. Pick one pattern, one ancestor, real or felt. Write the letter. And then hold yourself gently in whatever comes up. And if you want to share what's shifted for you, come find me on Instagram. I'm at christine.marcario.coach. I genuinely love hearing from you. Okay, beautiful soul, that's our episode for this week. We are 3 down, 3 to go in the return series. And I don't want to give away too much, but next week we are going into depth of practice. What it really means to build a spiritual life that isn't something you do when things fall apart, but something that actually holds you all the time, like a foundation under your feet. That episode is going to be so good. Make sure you're subscribed so it lands right in your feed. And hey, if this series is doing something for you, I would be so grateful if you'd leave a review on Apple Podcast. It takes 2 minutes and it genuinely helps more people find this show. More people finding this show means more people coming home to themselves and more ancestral healing. And that is exactly why I'm here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing the work. Thank you for choosing yourself over and over, even when it's hard. Until next episode, remember, you are more powerful than you know. Sending you with lots of love and light. I'm Christine Marcario. Bye for now.